Hi, so this is my next video on L-Girder construction and how I'm doing the electronics. The first time I did this, essentially I had put my bus wire on and I had put my turnouts in and I had put in these signal interface boards and plugged in signals. And I was able to figure out how to do the signals. Now today, oh, and also I was using this NCE Power Cab using the accessory select to change the switches. Well, today I'm going to take this out. See this? We're not using it anymore. We're pretty much throwing it out. We don't need it. I know that when you were seeing me change the signals the other day in the turnouts, you can say, well, that's a pain. How am I going to remember all the numbers and accessory code and hit one or two to sway the things from one to the other? So we're done with it. So here we are. We're back to my NCE system with my DCC voltage and amp reader, surge protector, fan. I've got 3 different circuits going in here. By the way, with these circuits, when I put these boards in, they were from DCC Concepts. There's a plug in here, a jumper that I had to move the jumper because they didn't work. So there's these little things that you figure out as you go along. Sometimes it takes a while. So with that, let's just take a look at what's happened since then. So basically, if you see this speaker wire, it's also 16 gauge, which is the same size that I'm using for the bus wire for the tracks. So these are now neatly put into these boards, and the ground signal interface has been put in. Okay, this all works along a dedicated DCC accessory bus decoder at 1.5 amps. The items right here that you see are KD electromagnet uncouplers, which I'll finish putting in later on. They'll require a delay switch and an LED light to sort of activate them, but my plan is to activate them for about 20 seconds with a train on top of it, which will uncouple it, obviously, and then be able to push you down your line to drop your freight cars off. So basically, the silver speaker wire, again, is my DCC accessory. It's now plugged into this item, plugged into this one. And by the way, when I mentioned the other day that you only needed one interface board, it's specific. If you put it onto this one, it doesn't work. If you put it on this one, it does work. It's not either or. You've got a trial and error unless you can sort it out why it's one versus the other. But that works. And basically this wire, okay, which is, like I said, the 1.5 accessory decoder bus wire, goes to this receiver, okay, or the other way around. The bus wire runs off the end, goes into the receiver, and from the receiver it comes out the other side, and it's created this 1.5 amp DCC accessory bus. Now the receiver has a red light on, which means it's paired with the sending units, okay, which are also called receivers. There's a pairing button on here. You hit the pairing button and it will pair up with one group of receivers at a time. Let me show you over here what the receivers look like. This is a receiver, and it comes in a box, a nice looking box. And 1, 2, and 3, that's in my situation, figure at 101, 102, 103 would be my first 3 accessory buses. And these plugs go a specific way. This is how they're set up for this system. And I've got one receiver unit on. Here's a pairing button on this. If you hit this pairing button, okay, this red light on here, it's an LED, will start flashing. When it's paired up with the receiver, it'll stay constant. Then you know you're all set. And you can have as many of these as you need. Okay, this happens to be one. I have a box of 4 here. I'm going to be using 1 plus 1 node on a second one for my demonstration. Going back this way, I've got these toggle switches. I haven't used these ones, but these do have in the package a set of lights. Okay, LED lights, red and green. Haven't used these yet, still early in the game. What I did use, and again, I got these on Monday. I called Iron Planet Hobbies, okay, which are people in the United States, and got these ESP toggle switches because I wanted to try a different system. Okay, so I use those. These are just pieces of sticky, and they're bar labels to cover the throw wire hole and keep operation smooth, so that it allows you, once there's a little slash in the middle, if you can stick that on your turnout, it'll allow your wire through and keep the gravel from falling through, which at some point I'll be doing. What I didn't bring up last time was this DCC Concepts crimper, and I just absolutely love it. It's one of my favorite tools. But so basically, if I was to put this in here, pinch it in the middle, and I don't care what gauge wire I use because it's all of them, pull it, it pulls back the wire. And again, I'll do it on this side. I'll put it through here. I'll give it a crimp. And there you go, it's opened up. Now, why do I need that? Because when I go over here, I can stick them right through these pieces. All right. And just take one out for a second. You cut the top of this, you bend it, and then you can slide your wires through. And they slide through, you stick them in and you solder them. And on the bottom is where you put your accessory wires. This, and the other thing is, if I wanted to strip the end off, snap it in here, pull it, it's off. Put it in here, snap it, pull it. Well, it should go off. Forget that part, but it does work. Just because I have this video on, it's giving me trouble. But then again, I'm using that 16 gauge wire here for the bus and the accessories. What I didn't show yesterday were the mimic ground signals, but they have various ones, various packages. And this package of 12, okay, are for USA. Okay, they got UK and 4 light and 2 light packages. So that's what I use. I didn't explain it the other day, but that's what I did use for my signals. They've taken off for now. I'll add, I'm going to flip my whole work table over, put it on the back tracks, okay, which is the L-Girder construction. And once I get this through, the very end of this will be 4 inches above this stable board here. The other end is going to be 2 inches. Then this front section is going to be 0 inches. It's going to be right on the bottom and go up to 2. So by the time I'm done, there's going to be a 4-inch elevation between the front tracks and the back tracks, which is one of the cool things about using this L-Girder. Also, I'll be able to, I've been paying attention to where I've been putting in my wires and my turnout, so I wouldn't get messed up with putting them where I've already got some sort of a prong upwards. I will be able to add more later too. So the idea is maybe I'll put a board across here and make a little hole in it so that those will go through. So, and then just finishing up, with the ground signal interfaces what I used the other day, I found that these Scotch brand fasteners are the best way to attach them to the turnout. I've used Velcro, but I used it like this as well. So, okay. I mean, the great thing is, oh yeah, I do want to let you know that I have watched dozens of videos, and there's two in particular that I really want you to have recognized during this video, which is one is Larry Pucket, the DCC guy. He has one that says new wireless layout control with the power of ESP. That's his video number 236. It's very good. It's got a lot of detail in it. It also explains power buses, power blocks, and lights, and DC systems, and DCC systems, and many other things that you can do with this whole product base, which comes from DCC. So, and then there's Jennifer Kirk, and she has a video that says DCC wire free, DCC Concepts ESP free control system, and both of these really explain what I'm up to next, which is using the receiver and the transmitters with the various addresses. So let's now go. As you can see here, there's no wire. I've got a dispatch office in back of this very thick wall, okay? And let's go over to the dispatch office. And you'll see there's no wires. And we're just gonna walk over to the dispatch office. Pass a piece of construction work I'm working on a roundhouse, which is gonna go through the system. And we are now in the dispatch office. And if you notice, it says no wiring allowed outside this room. What I want to say here is, in January, I went up to a layout for an op session, and they have a dispatch room, and there's wires going through into that room that looks like a bad hair day. Now, if you think if this was the control room, and you had wires running to the turnouts, and I'm at the end, here's my whole entire layout, I'm going to have about 50 turnouts. 50 turnouts, say 10 feet for each wire. 20 feet is for both sides of a wire. You'd have at least 1,000 feet of wire, if not 2,000 or 3,000 or 4,000, depending on how far you were from dispatch to your turnouts. So this is the brainchild. So basically, you can sit in this room, and I tried to make two different control boxes. And as you can see, this control box, there's no wires attached to it. All right. And what I did was I've used these snap poster frames on top of a box. This one I used 1-inch wood. I found the inside a little bit confined, so I went to 1/2-inch wood on this one. So basically inside, all right, are my transmitters, okay? And if I was to turn on this DCC, because obviously I need power, all right, you can see the red lights are on both of them. So 101, 102, 103, the wires run over to here. Okay, 101, 102, 103. Good idea to sort of mark everything up. And 104, I needed to use another transmitter is going in here. Now, one thing you do have to do, there's a pairing button here. And this is what you use. You hit that pairing button, the pairing button on the receiver, and they'll pair up, and the light will go on. The other thing that you have to do is also put each of these units, you plug it in from here to your NCE Power Cab, and you go select accessory code and put the number in, and then the best thing is to sort of put it in a 1 or a 2 so it knows that it's connected. Once it does 104, it'll do 105, 106 at the same time. You have to do one at a time, and this one, 101, 102, 103. I did the same thing. Use my NCE Power Cab. It's all wired up, so now it should all work. So basically, right, there's no wires. There's no wires. There's no wires at all. And listen carefully, you might hear it. This is 101, which is the first one on the right. And you can hear it and you can see it moving. If I want to hit 102, which is the next one over, that one's 101. I go to the next one over, and I'll hit 102, and that one moves. If I go to the next one over, basically these two are controlled by the same, because this is a crossover, so both work at the same time. And then I've got 102 down there, or 3, and 104. So let's just go back to the office. And like I say, these things do work, and I can hear it. They're going through a 30-inch thick cement wall over to the other side. The other item that I built, and I've just done this week, is one with LED lights. So if I wanted to press this button, see right now the traffic is going this way through the crossover. If I push this, the traffic's going straight here, going straight there, not going through the crossover. If I want to change this one, it's the same thing. I can hit either button. When I did that, the traffic's running through this way. Now going through this way, the traffic's running. And right now, since this switch is turned that way, I can't go through here. But if I press that, okay, traffic can go through. So quite easily, you can see how things are lined up in the other room. And then same thing here. This is allowing traffic to go through here. It's going this way, but if I want to go that way, you can see it goes here. Now, this is supposed to work. I haven't wired it up yet, other than the fact that I'm just going to show you inside what's in the box. Okay, these are the LED lights. Okay, they are wired into this A alpha switch. Okay, and then from there, I've got the plugs 101, 102, 103, 104 lined up, which could, in theory, go into the receiver. All right, this has its own power. I mean, just so it can be portable. But if I look in here, again, where I've got 101, 102, 103, 104 plugged in here, think of it, you could take these toggle switches out. I don't need the toggle switches. I could use this instead. I also have a little switch here, which if I turn it, it shuts things off. The reason why I have it in here is because at some point I'll plan on plugging it through here so I can turn off the DC power charger without opening the box. So that's what that will eventually be once I've got things sorted out. But that's how I've seen Larry Pucket do this, as a matter of fact. But now it's on, now it's off. So I won't have to open the box to go through it. Snap it back. And there are videos or advice sheets on the DCC Concepts board. And they sent me this one on the right. And this is how I've set up that control panel with a power switch A. I've got the 101, 102, 103, and 104 going into it, and it's supposed to go to the transmitter, from the transmitter to the receiver to make it work, which we know it does work with the LED toggle switches. I just haven't got this one to work yet, but will soon. And you can see the jumper cables are set. They tell you how to set them. That's that. So with that, that's the end of my video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Stay with me as I move forward into the completion of the LED girder construction.